Well folks, today we've done about 4.5–5 hours of driving. We left Lofsdalen this morning about 10:30 and we just headed north to the wilderness route along the E45, and we've actually managed to get all the way up past Östersund and past Strömsund, which is about 15 kilometres in that direction, and the wilderness road runs up there. So what we've done, we've had a good look on Google Earth and we found some old logging tracks to come up. We went further down there to one towards a little village called Aspnas, I think, but it was a bit weird. Someone had been there before, it was quite messy. So we headed back down the road and we found another track which has taken us a good couple of kilometres up into the woods here. You can see the state of this track. Anything with a big grass line down the middle means it's very rarely used. Still got a lot of birch bark left from the last place we wild camped, so I'm going to use that this evening to get this fire going. We actually stopped off at a garage in Strömsund to fill up, and I bought a couple of bags of seasoned hardwood because I've had such a hassle getting dry wood from the forest. It all seems to be really rotten and damp. However, we've come to this area and it's looking quite good. But I think as we venture further across the wilderness route, there's a very high plateau, and I'm guessing that it's going to be freezing up there and not a lot of wood because it's above the tree line. So hopefully the seasoned hardwood that we've got will come in handy there.
Once we'd made sure that the truck was parked level and out of the way of any trees that could potentially fall towards us during the night, I set about gathering the firewood for the evening. The evening campfire was a real highlight of our time in Sweden. The art of fire has become almost redundant in modern life, but on this trip it became a central part of our day. We used a fire pit instead of building a fire directly on the ground, and the main reason for this was so that we could leave our wild camping spots exactly the same way we found them. Once the fire had burnt out, I would dispose of the ash on the forest floor, as wood ash contains a relatively high level of potassium, which is a useful plant nutrient. This would allow us to leave camp every morning whilst leaving behind nothing but our tyre tracks.
Now then folks, I wanted to review some of the gear that we've been using on this trip. Over the summer I've spent a bit of time in the garage in my small workshop, just putting a few things together to make life easier in the back of the truck. What I wanted to show you was the brew box. Yeah, so here's the box without the lid on. So I've got the ghillie kettle in there, I've got a couple of mugs in there, I've got a cafetiere, obviously the base for the ghillie kettle and the stand. I've got some, what do you call it, tinder in there. Then I keep a spoon in there for the coffee. I've got my coffee in there, box of matches, and I think I've got a couple of fire steels in there, Swedish fire steel and a Helco Works fire steel, so you can always get a brew on. And I just knocked up this quick divider. It comes in and out, so if it gets dirty in the bottom you can just take it out and clean the box. So everything just stays in there, and we'll pile all the boxes on top of each other. And in the morning I just get this out. I don't need anything else. I can get a coffee on the go, and I usually use the water from the ghillie kettle to have a quick wash in the morning. But over the summer I've also added a couple of extra bits which I'll show you. Just built a couple of these trays. I've got one made out of 6mm plywood and one made out of 9, and they've just got a stainless steel square screwed in. Nothing fancy, a couple of holes in each end. Now this will fit on top of a front runner box, and these two ledges here that I've got on the bottom, they'll slide into the top to stop it moving around. I'll just quickly show you that. So there's the top of the brew box. It'll just clip in there and it doesn't move around. It's nice and firm, nice and stable. So we've found that we haven't used our table at all, because we carry a bifold and Oz 10 table. It's quite big and bulky. All I'm doing is pulling out another front runner box stacking 2 of them up and putting one of these on top, and we've got a table which is big enough to put your coffee on or whatever. I do have another one here, and when it comes to dinner time, we're just sitting on our chairs and we're using these as kind of like little mats to go on your lap, so they're really handy actually. Just broke camp and we're heading up this track, and we found a tree that's fallen down during the night, which is blocking the way. Thing is, you've got to think about this. This is only a small tree. I can probably pull it out of the way, but if it was a bigger one, you'd be scuppered. You're spending the next few days out here. This is quite a big tree actually. I have got the saw, so I'll probably try and saw a section off, I think. You can see down there there's a fairly decent sized trunk on it. So I'll probably just saw a little bit off here, I think. About here should do it. This is one of the problems about camping in forest as well. I mean, this is a small tree, but you need to think about where you park your vehicle as well, because you don't want one of these big spruces coming down in the night. Job done.
So we pushed further north towards Lake Flasjon along some old forest tracks. I was able to buy a fishing permit through the useful iFisk app that I had previously downloaded to my phone. The permit cost around £6 and lasts for 24 hours. So we found a good spot for lunch near a river mouth, where I unsuccessfully attempted to lure some fish. We were in no hurry, so we decided to explore the miles of forest tracks around the lake, looking for some good fishing spots and perhaps a place to wild camp for the night. Unfortunately, we couldn't find anywhere, so we ended up circumnavigating the entire lake and eventually ended up pretty much where we started from at the beginning of the day. But as we drove back onto the wilderness road, we pulled into a nature camp, which was a small camping area with a couple of compost toilets, a fire grill and a shelter right on the edge of the lake. The campsite had a voluntary donation box, so you could leave a few krona if you had enjoyed your stay. I can imagine you'd meet other travellers during the warmer months, but we were lucky enough to have the place to ourselves, so it was straight out with a fishing rod to see if I could catch anything for dinner, which I couldn't, just in case you were wondering.
So I've decided to get some of the Aussie heat beads that we've been keeping up on the top there out and bake some bread in the Dutch oven. And before I left, I kind of like measured out bags of flour so I don't have to mess around. I'm really thankful that customs didn't have a look.
Yeah, that looks like drugs, Ben.
Yep. And I would explain me way out of that, like. So I've just finished knocking up my bread mixture, and that is going to go in the Ronnie Sunshine's Dutch oven, and then it's going to go on top of the coals on the Snow Peak fire pit. What we've done is we've used gluten-free flour, and the reason behind that is because you don't have to knead the bread. You know, in fact you don't really have to get your hands dirty. I just mix it with a spoon, load it out onto this parchment paper, and then just shape it with the paper, so you're not getting your hands full of like a gooey mess.
I was up early the next day, and a quick glance out of the tent revealed a fantastic sunrise, so I got up and enjoyed the view for a while. Then it was time to get back out with a fishing rod. This was the only time I was able to fish on the trip, and I didn't catch anything, but that wasn't a big deal, to be honest. It was just great to spend a few hours fishing in such a pristine landscape. Being immersed in the enormous blue lake surrounded by a picture frame of evergreen forests was a reward in itself. Eventually the time came to get going, so we began to top up our water supplies from the lake. The environment is so clean this far north that it is perfectly safe to drink the water straight from the lake. We carried all of our rubbish out of camp in the trasharoo, which proved incredibly useful as sometimes rubbish bins were few and far between, and we didn't have to worry about storing days worth of rubbish somewhere inside the truck. I would usually place the rubbish on the front rack in the evening though, just in case it attracted the attention of a passing bear during the night.
After all is said and done and said again, we have a part and have to play it. And I was searching for the oyster, not the pearl. For all the world is what I wanted.
So just having a quick visit to Halingsafallet, which is a waterfall and a ravine just up on the Wilderness Road. You take the turn off to a place called Ankarede, and it's about 30 kilometres down a dirt track. It's all signposted so you can't miss it. And there's a kilometre or two walk down into the waterfall, so let's have a look.
After exploring the waterfall and the surrounding area, we were back on the road heading towards the hamlet of Stora Blasion. We hit a cold front as the road began to climb upwards into the mountainous region along the Swedish and Norwegian borders. We turned east before the road took us onto the high mountain pass and spent a while exploring Ankarede. Ankarede is an ancient Sami meeting place situated between two rivers and has an old church which was built towards the end of the 1890s. The church also has a cemetery and is surrounded by a number of dwellings. As we wandered further, we came across a number of traditional wooden Sami huts. These are called kator huts and would have provided the reindeer herders with extra protection from the elements. I would get to explore inside one of these dwellings at the next Sami village that we visited.
So we've left the Sami church and the Sami settlement behind, and we've just wandered up this old dirt road. It's getting a bit late now, it's 4 o'clock and the dark starts to set in at around about 7ish. So we always look to find somewhere around 4 and we found this place straight away. So this'll do. It's not the prettiest place we've wild camped, but if we carry on round the wilderness road, we're going to head straight up onto the Stekkenjokk plateau, which is the mountain road, and there's nowhere to wild camp up there, and it's absolutely covered in snow. We can see it in the distance. So yeah, we thought we'd just get in and get everything set up for a night round the campfire. Decided to put the fox wing up because the snow is coming off and on, and there's a bit of an icy breeze blowing down. So we've just put that up there. That should give the fire a bit of protection and keep the wind chill off us for this evening. But we're actually making quite good progress on the Vildmarksvägen, the wilderness road. It's not that long actually, 300 odd kilometres, 200 miles or something. So we're almost at the about halfway through it. One thing worth remembering if you're coming up to Sweden on a trip like this and you like strong beer is to bring some of your own, because in the supermarkets in Sweden they will only sell lager or beer with a strength of up to 3.5% ABV. You can't buy anything strong, no 5% lagers or anything. But they do some really good session pale ales. Had a nice one down in Lofsdalen, and I've got a nice one here by Brutal Brewing, I think. Lovely, couple of quid a bottle mine, so they're not cheap. But yeah, you can get Guinness and Murphy's Irish Stout, Hobgoblin, Corona Lager in the supermarket, Heineken, what have you. But it's all brewed to 3.5%. If you want anything stronger, you're going to have to head to one of the government outlets where you can pick up some wine, spirits and strong lagers. So it's worth bearing in mind. Fill the back of your 4x4 full of Stella or something if you like the strong stuff. It's alright, this stuff though.
While I was appreciating the local shandy, Tris had been preparing some chicken for the Dutch oven. These were boneless chicken leg steaks with the skin left on. We had these a couple of times and they worked really well in the Dutch oven. The oven had provided us with some great meals so far on this trip. Although they are fairly heavy and not really suitable if you're looking for a lightweight cooking system, they are a versatile and useful addition to your cold weather or winter cooking kit. This one is a 4-litre model and is ideal for 2 or 3 people, allowing you to bake bread, slow cook stews, roast meat joints, and it will even cook a full chicken, and they also make great roast potatoes too. So once dinner was sorted, we huddled around a campfire as the night drew in, and in the next episode we crossed the Stekkenjokk mountain pass. So we hope you'll join us, and until then, thanks for watching.